Welcome to Cameron Oates. Now, Cameron, I've got you on the show because of what you post on all the social medias out there pretty much weekly, usually daily, of goal setting. You're fantastic at that. I find it quite inspiring. Uh, and and I wanted everybody to be able to tap into that. And I know everybody listening to this will be able to find a gem from the stuff you offer. So welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've been a bit of an inspiration with stuff you do. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey, about what you got you to where you are today in your life's path?
Sure. Well, my journey really starts, I guess, if I rewind back to around my mid-20s. Up until that stage, I'd lived a pretty standard life. I was a tradie, a Friggy by trade, so working with air conditioning and refrigeration. And then it wasn't until my mid-20s that I had a bad back injury. I ruptured a couple of discs in my lower spine, and I went through the normal route of, going to the physio, going to the doctors, seeing a lot of specialists, and I kept on getting the same sort of response that, your back is, we're going to try everything possible to not send you down that surgery sort of route. And I went to countless specialists. I was seeing physios, 2-3 times a week, chiropractors. I was doing all different classes on swimming and, all these different things to try and relieve the pain. And then it ended up getting just said to me by my doctor, my physio, and a specialist that I was seeing, a psychologist, because I was going down an emotional route that wasn't healthy either. And they all said, look, maybe you just got to deal with your back might never be, right again, and you might not walk properly again. And it was sort of that, we're sorry, but that's the way it is kind of mentality. And that hit me pretty bad and sent me even further downhill emotionally and then massively physically as well. And I was on a lot of antidepressants at the time. I was on a lot of painkillers at the time as well. And then I turned to other things like alcohol and other drugs just to numb both the psychological pain and obviously the physical pain. And it wasn't until I started to, I suppose, dig myself so deeply that I got to a point and I thought, well, there has to be another way out of this. There has to be another way to think. There has to be another way to feel. Like, I can't keep going like this. At that time as well, one of my brothers moved in with me so he could cook my meals, and do the washing and keep the house clean and everything, because I was just pretty much bedridden. And then I started researching all these different modalities, and I found that the power of the mind is so, it impacts the physical body on so many different levels. And I thought, well, I was drawn to a specific person at the time. It was Tony Robbins. And for your listeners out there, I'm sure a lot of them would be aware of who Tony Robbins is. And he sort of brought NLP to the forefront. He didn't create NLP, but he was one of the guys that sort of brought it to the general public in a massive way, and still does. And I was drawn to him, and I thought, well, what does he study? What does he do? What does he teach? Excuse me. And that led me down the NLP path. And I went and enrolled in a couple of courses when I got myself well enough that I could actually get up and walk around. And the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't have any idea with, the impact of psychological sort of damage that the mind can do to the physical if we look at it the wrong way. And then I started studying things like clinical hypnotherapy as well. And this is obviously where we connected, a number of years ago. And all these modalities that I started studying, I wasn't really doing it so I could teach others or whatever. It was just, I was fascinated by it and I had to learn more. And, over a course of a number of years, I got myself well. And then I started just naturally talking to people about it. And one thing led to another, and we fast forward until now. And, I've coached personally over 100 clients through, different things from relationships, different things from physical stress. They might have gone through a similar sort of circumstance to myself, with getting told that, this is the way your body is. Sorry, we can't do anything. And those people go searching for something more, and they've found me. And then massively just on the goal setting side of things, I coach a lot of people on, the correct way to actually set goals, and stretching sort of goals that we aim towards, in 2-3 years time. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and it's only just the beginning. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
Yes, I've loved watching you put your stuff to work, and watching you grow over the years I've known, and you don't just settle for what you can find in a book. I've seen you go through a lot of different learnings, and you don't just stick with one principle. You seem to spread to multiple ones. You go and get personal mentors. Who are some of the people you've trained with or mentored with over the years?
Definitely a big one has to be Bob Proctor. And I was drawn to Bob probably around 3 years ago now. And again, I was just fascinated with, for those of your listeners who may not know Bob Proctor, he's really, I see him anyway as one of the pioneers of the personal development industry. He's been coaching people for around 56 years. He's 85 years old and he still gets around like a 20-year-old. And he's in the hit movie The Secret was one of the things that sort of brought him massively to the forefront of the personal development industry. And when I saw Bob's material the first time, and I thought, wow, this guy's talks about something so complex as the human mind, but he delivers it with so much simplicity that anyone can understand it. And that's one thing that Bob prides himself on. He says, we've all got a mind, and whether or not he's talking to a 5-year-old or a 95-year-old, the conversation doesn't really change that much, because we should be able to deliver that message of health, of vitality, of goal setting in such a simple way that anyone can understand it. And that's why I was drawn to him so much, because he was, he just takes something like the mind that's endless and so complex and delivers it in such a simple way that it's like, wow, this makes sense. Mm. So yeah, he's definitely one of my big influences in the way I coach. His drawings that he uses, one specifically called the Stick Man or the Genie, and it's just a simple image. Is supplement to all my clients. It doesn't matter if they're seeing me for how to bring a partner into their life, or if it's how to get over a illness, or if it's how to actually increase sales in their business. I'll still direct them to this image, and it's fascinating.
Okay. I'll have to get you to send me that, and we might put that in the show notes for people to check out. And,
beautiful.
Let's see. So what is one of the biggest tools you've had for goal setting that you use all the time?
I'd say, again, one of Bob's teachings is the gold card. And all a gold card is literally a little card that we write down our goal, and we carry that card with us everywhere we go. We read it multiple times, excuse me, throughout the day, especially in the morning and especially at night, because the way our brain is functioning in the morning and at night, the subconscious is really open to suggestion more in those sort of states. So the idea is we read our goal repetitively over and over and over and get emotionally involved with it in the morning and at night. Yes, throughout the day, but massively at those two periods, because it's going to allow more information to bypass an analytical sort of thinking area of the mind and implant that belief or that goal into the subconscious. And as soon as it's in there, then that's obviously when magic starts to happen. So, yeah.
So is that like a big long-term goal?
Yeah, well, again, it could be something as simple as bringing in a partner into our life, or, getting over a certain hurdle in our business, or definitely, health sort of related as well. So it is more so around a big goal, long-term goal. This is the way Bob sort of uses it. But definitely, if we're wanting to achieve something, let's just say in the next 6 months, then massively as well, we use it there as well. So it's really, I bring that modality into my coaching, no matter what sort of outcome people are wanting. That's a big part, because that works as an anchor as well. Throughout the day, we can touch our pocket, the image flashes in the screen of our mind of our goal, and obviously that's going to cause us to start to work towards it more and more. So yeah,
I've experimented with it. I've heard you talking about it so much. I tweaked it. A big goal on one side, and the other side I'll have super short term.
Nice.
I've given this to a few clients to do, that they dial down to the next achievable bit they can do. So in the morning, they're writing that and putting that in there. And that way, when they touch it every time, they're like, well, this is a big goal. Today, I've got to do this. They can write the new one when they get home or whatever. That's been my approach.
Nice.
But I found it's helpful to have that reframe of where you're going, breaking it down to where you can go next, what you can do in between.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I've found that the type of people that need that. Some people need those short-term achievements along the way as well. Some people work better with just a long-term sort of image. So yeah, definitely, I love that, how using it two sides. I haven't actually used that, so I think I might steal that and start bringing that into my clients' workshops as well. So yeah, I like it. Yeah.
So how many of those cards have you gone through since you started using that method?
Well, there'd definitely be a few hundred, because each client I give a couple to, or are you meaning more so myself?
Yeah, personal life. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, personal life. With the big goals, I would say probably around 3 or 4. Where I've obviously had to renew the actual card because it breaks down in my pocket and all those sort of things. But 3 or 4 times I've had to change the goal, because I've either achieved it or something else has come in, and I've reframed it in a certain way or redirected it or whatever. So yeah.
So you found it's helped you progress towards your targets, aims, goals?
Definitely, because I think, we live in a day and age where we're bombarded with information, and if we don't stay focused towards a clear outcome, we can just bounce around, because we open up social media and, we'll scroll, we'll see something that takes our eye, we'll go, oh, beautiful, maybe this is what I want to do. Awesome. And I'll start enrolling in a course. I could spend 6 months doing something, and then I'm not too sure. I'll bounce around. I'll find something else on social media, or, ads on TV. We can bounce around. And so many people, I think, if they don't have a clear target, what they're aiming towards, what they're really wanting in life, this is when they can bounce around from left to right to left to right. And people go on years and years. And I know I did up until my mid-20s. I did try a lot of things. I was a full-time musician as well for around 3 years, and thinking, this is my calling, this is what I'm supposed to do. But it wasn't until that everything happened that I started to really go inward. And that's what I really encourage all my clients to do, that the answers are inside of them, not on social media. We're not going to find them there. They might help draw it to the surface, but it's about setting time out for ourselves where we can say, all right, I am confused. I'm not too sure where what I'm supposed to do in my life. I haven't found my passion or my purpose. I'm not too sure on a vision. So how am I supposed to even figure out goals? And those sort of people I encourage to, okay, turn off the phone, turn off any, distractions. And if we can go out in nature, perfect. But if we live in a city, or, if that's not available, then turn off all distractions, put on some quiet music, and just with a notepad and pen, a tea, a coffee, whatever it may be, and put yourself as relaxed as possible, and then start asking those questions of, okay, without expectation, just ask those questions of, what is it? I know I'm here for a reason, and, what is it? Is it to be a coach, or is it to be a musician, or, whatever it may be? Those answers will start to draw to the surface. But if we're always just looking for the answers on the outside of us through social media, through all these other things, that's when we can just bounce around. And, and I've got clients that are in their near 60s, and, they've said, man, for the last 50 plus years, I've just been doing this, and I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. And that's like, well, we got to spend those times going inward.
Handy tool I found for that is 2 questions to ask in that chill out time is, one, what would I do if money wasn't an issue? If somebody paid me $1 million a year to do something, what would I do? So it takes that money factor out. And the other is, if somebody was paying me to research, to just explore something, what would I study? What would I look into? That kind of
nice.
Opens people up, because usually a block is time or money for what gets people out of their thing. If you can get them to think about what they're passionate about, then they realize what they're passionate about, and might be able to find a way to make that work. From my experience of myself meeting people like you and my clients, when you find that you can tap into a passion, that work is so much easier.
It's not work.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not. And I think everyone is here for a reason. I'm a strong believer that nothing happens by chance or luck. The universe works in specific order and ways, and we can either move in harmony with that, which is following a purpose, or just in flow, or we can move against that and always be butting heads with other people, and putting others down because we're not happy with ourselves or whatever it may be. So staying in that nice flow and finding our passion, and then just driving towards it. And like you said, taking money out of the option, and that's going to draw forth new ideas as well, because that is a big thing. How am I going to make money from this? Powerful.
And that outside influence sometimes is partly it too, that they're like, well, this is my passion, but you can't make money out of that. And talking to somebody else, they're like, yes, you can. Yeah, you can can do this or that. And that's where coaching really helps. If you've got people to bounce off of different ideas.
Definitely. And I think, a big thing that I always come up against with people is limiting beliefs. And, just to continue on with what you were just saying, with people saying, well, I can't make money from that. Let's say soccer or something. And, then you say, yeah, you can. Like, look at some of the best soccer players. They're earning tens of millions of dollars every year. Oh, but I can't do that. And it's that limiting belief. Well, why not? Why not? Where's that belief stem from? And, then we start to go inward, and tools like hypnotherapy bring those limiting beliefs out as well, because we can become aware of certain childhood comments that may have been said to us, at a younger age, and all those sort of things. And that's where I point people to go see people like yourself, because, people like yourself can draw that out.
Yeah, it can make a big difference. That little idea that gets stuck in the background, but conscious tools can quite often do that as well. Of different reminders to get themselves outside of that.
Definitely.
So what are some of the other regular tools you use to help break mindsets or open up that potential within?
The biggest one that I implement every single day for myself and my clients, it's something that I coach and I love talking about with people, is meditation. And the word meditation, a lot of my clients anyway, in the past have said, oh, I tried that and that didn't work, or I can't do that, or it might work for you. Or the biggest thing I find is the time. People say, I don't have time, I'm too rushed, I'm too busy, I don't have 10 minutes, I don't have whatever. And they're the people that I really enforce it with and say, look, that's exactly why you need to meditate. If you don't have 10 minutes free, then you need to meditate for 20 minutes and really put it back on them. And that expectation's there. And if we can start to implement that on a daily basis, minimum once a day in the morning, definitely, but at night time as well, if people can, that's going to have enormous benefits on their social, or anyone's social abilities, enormous benefits on their health, without a doubt, enormous benefits on focus, with clarity, with determinism, with drive, through energy levels, let's say in the gym, let's say at work, let's say relationships, whatever it may be. Meditation, I think, is literally just the ground of everything. And then all my other coaching sort of comes second to that. So that's one of the biggest tools, because if we don't go inward, then we're looking on the outside of us for answers. And, that's when confusion comes in. That's when outside influences come in, and, we just, again, go around in circles. So,
meditation, I'm on board with the same thing. It is the best step to get anywhere. And it doesn't matter what industry, field, or way your life plays out. It'll amplify things. So what's the main meditation tool you give people? What's the best one?
Depending on the person, definitely is, if they're a very analytical sort of person, that's, the mind's always questioning and, am I doing it right? Am I not? Or, am I supposed to be focusing on this or that? Or, if the mind's just constantly going, then, those sort of people I might give more of a meditation where they are vocalizing something like an om sound, or, because it allows them to focus on one specific thing. If it's more of a person, I guess, like myself, if they can just close their eyes and either have some theta tones in the background, or even some relaxing music. One thing I implement, or one thing I stress on though, is not to have anything with vocals. As in, it could still be talking meditation, but not music with vocals, because then the conscious mind can start singing in our head and we're just sitting there with our eyes closed singing. But if it's a talking sort of meditation, then yeah, definitely they can help as well. And one person I follow, to a T with his coaching and his approach with meditation is Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I use a lot of his meditation techniques with my clients, and also just on a daily basis with my own practice.
Excellent. Do you get people to integrate that goal card with that?
Depending on I have in the past. More so than not, I don't, and that's only because the type of coaching that I've done in the past, it's if a person's really always focusing on their goal, then you ask them to meditate, and sometimes the mind can't switch off the goal, and they're just staying in their conscious mind all the time, and they're not lowering their frequency down into an alpha or theta sort of range. They're staying in that beta, focus, and all they're doing is thinking about their goal on a conscious level, with their eyes closed. So I did do it, probably about, let's say, 18 months ago. I was doing it quite a lot, getting people to close their eyes, focus on their goal, and do a little bit of a meditation in harmony with their goal. But I found that the better results were, okay, meditation is meditation, and then our goal cards and saying affirmations and things, we can do that as well, especially with our eyes closed and visualization techniques. But let's not call it our meditation practice. Our meditation practice is where we go inward, we're relaxed, and it allows that brainwave frequency to drop into those alpha and theta sort of ranges. And that's where the body will just naturally take over. Homeostasis will bring our system back to order, and heart rate, heart and brain coherence starts to take over, and a lot of health benefits start to come to the surface as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Because it is important to have that balance of, shutting the conscious mind down, where still those visualization processes can certainly help, but reframing it that's not their meditation is great. I'll sometimes use that as meditation for somebody to get them into things, but if you're hitting both arrows, that's awesome. You're tricking them into doing twice as much meditation.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Which is a big thing, these days. I refer back so many times to us just being bombarded with information, and if we go back before our days anyway, with before internet, before those sort of things, it was a little bit more relaxed. We'd send a letter, we'd write a letter to someone, and we could wait days or weeks or even months if it was going overseas to hear back. And now we live in a high stress sort of environment where we can send a text to someone, and if we haven't heard within half an hour, why haven't they messaged? Why, and these internal dialogue, especially if it's about a business proposition, or if it's something to do with money, stress is just go, and it's like, well, that's only come in really since phones and all these new devices, which is brilliant. But at the same time, our health is really taking a toll, because, and it speaks for itself when you look at the statistics as well of, heart disease and all those, cancer and things like that. The rise is just massive, and it's constantly going up. And I think it all comes down to, stress on some sort of level. Yeah,
that certainly does. And I want to come back to that in a second. But while we're still on the meditation thing, for those people who tell you they don't have 10 minutes to meditate, How is it you ease them in to start that? What's your little tip for the people out there listening that haven't meditated before or don't think they've got 10 minutes to calm their farm?
Sure. Well, I would definitely start to reframe it in a way to say, well, if that's the case, let's say we wake up at a certain time and we go to bed at a certain time and we don't have time, in between those two periods. Simple things like, okay, I want to implement meditation to my day. I know how healthy it's going to be. I know I'm going to work better. And, even if I can improve my work time by 10 minutes, then I've made back my time. But let's say, we know all those things on a conscious level, but I'm just, I don't know, I don't have time. Let's set the alarm 10 minutes earlier. Little things like that. It sounds too simple, but some of the simplest things, it's because they work as well. If we always have lunch at 12 o'clock, and 12 till 1, we're on lunch break. Beautiful. Finish your lunch at 12:50 and close your eyes and relax and sit somewhere where you're not going to be, disturbed, and just see what happens with your eyes closed and with some relaxing music on. See how you feel when you open them at 1 o'clock for those 10 minutes. Little things like that. I feel when people start to implement little steps like that, 10 minutes, they'll get to a point where they'll, if an alarm goes off or something, after, let's say we have to go back at 1 o'clock and we set the alarm for 12:59 or whatever. So we've got like 1 minute, the alarm goes off. I think once people start to implement it on a daily basis, like anything, the first time we can go in and expect miracles. And when it doesn't happen, we can go, well, it didn't work. But if we try it over and over and over again, we'll get to the point where 10 minutes will seem like 10 seconds. And we go, wow, that went so fast. Well, maybe I'll go a little bit longer. Maybe I'll go 15 minutes. And, I've got meditation programs where my shortest one is 7 minutes and my longest one is 1.5 hours. And there's different techniques in there with breathing techniques. I'm a big fan of Wim Hof with his breathing techniques. I talk people through those sort of things as well. But it's all about starting small and don't expect miracles after, day one. Because, a lot of us don't get out of our conscious mind until we're actually, in bed with our head down on the pillow and it's just go. So it does take practice, and that's why it's called a meditation practice. We're obviously always learning and evolving.
Definitely. And the other thing to point out is once people get that benefit and they start noticing it, and it starts getting really easy because of their meditation practice, do not get full of yourself and think, oh, yeah, I've got this. I don't need to do that anymore. Because that's a mistake pretty much everybody I know that's got into meditation has made. They get to that level where they're like, yeah, I'm an expert meditator, so things are getting easy. I can allocate that time just today to something else. It slowly fades out, and then they realize they're not as sharp anymore after they've cut that out.
Definitely.
Big pitfall.
Definitely. And I think, with a lot of the tools that I coach on anyway, they are built around repetition. For your listeners that are aware of Bob Proctor, they'll know the value of repetition. The way Bob teaches is all around repetition. And that's the idea of the goal card, obviously reading it multiple times. And we can implement that in things like our meditation practice as well. It's just that repetitive thing, starts to condition the mind-body connection to, okay, I know when I wake up, I walk out of my room and then I sit and, I'm going to go inward. And the more we can start to make those connections neurologically in the brain, the easier we can start to go back to that same place over and over and over again. And I've found personally, when I skip a meditation, purely just because, you know, I might have a work commitment where I, you know, something happens and I just don't have time, or I do skip it. Come 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., my mind is just wandering. I know something's not right, and I'll always take it back to, oh, it's because I didn't meditate this morning. And it can be that fast, I find, with myself anyway. If I skip a meditation, I'll know within, you know, a couple of hours. You know, I'm just not thinking straight, or I might be yawning by lunchtime. And, you know, that's when I go, well, it's because I didn't meditate. So, yeah, it just shows me why my meditation practice is a daily thing. It has to be. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now back to the stress bit that you brought up. You obviously understand how stressful people's lives can get, and how catastrophic that can make other things in and around their lives, or for the people close to them in and around their lives. So I know you've started a new, reasonably new non-profit of You're Right, Mate. Would you mind telling us a bit about that? Because I want everybody that listens to be able to have this resource, because I think it's a fantastic extra tool to have around.
Beautiful. No, thank you. So You're Right, Mate came about in August last year, which was 2018. My brother, who was a successful real estate agent, took his life, and I was living in Queensland at the time. I got the call that my brother had been missing, so I flew straight down and, you know, spent a day and a half looking around Melbourne and looking for a needle in a haystack, obviously, just running the streets with a picture of my brother on the phone, asking everyone and anyone, you know, have you seen this person? And then I got the call on the 18th, Saturday morning, that the police had found his car, and my other brother and I went up to where the car was and ended up finding my brother. And that obviously shook me to my core. I went into a hole for a number of weeks. My partner, I told to ring all my current clients and just said, look, you've got to tell them that I need a coach. I can't be a coach for them right now. I need a coach. I need, you know, I just need my own time. All my clients, you know, all of them I'd been coaching for from weeks to months. So, you know, they were familiar with myself and my coaching abilities and everything. So all of them understood. I was very lucky in that sense. I didn't lose anyone. But I then just dug a hole psychologically. You know, I was just digging a hole and I couldn't see a way out. I questioned my whole ability of coaching. I questioned my career, you know, and started thinking, well, I'll pass all my current clients on to, you know, other coaches that I know, and I'll just, you know, call it quits. And, you know, it was fun while it lasted. And then I hit this place where I thought, well, I'll reach out to a couple of my clients. This is after a number of weeks, and, you know, just touch base with them just to say, look, you know, this is where I'm at, and see where they're at, and, you know, give them some tips. And then I was just sort of going to walk away for a little bit longer. And soon as I started coaching again, soon as I started speaking about, you know, helping them with their current problems and difficulties, whether it be business related, a lot of them were in for business growth and business mindset into my coaching. So once I started doing that, I thought, wow, like, no, this is my purpose. This is my calling. This is my passion. So I started doing it again, obviously, and then we fast forward a couple more months, and I thought, well, my clients all, obviously pay a premium price for, a 6-month period or 3-month period, whatever it may be, but that just isn't enough. I want to do some pro bono work. So I started doing, various pro bono work for different places and offering my services at different places. And I thought, well, there's got to be a better way to do this as well. I'm only one person. A lot of my coaching is one-on-one. Some of it's one-to-many, but even that, it's still limited. And then the thought of a non-for-profit sort of tickled my mind, I guess. And I thought, well, I'll research it a little bit. And we fast forward up until, geez, what is it now? I think we're 6 or 7 weeks in, and it's going great. I named it "You All Right, Mate," just literally the letter U and then "All Right, Mate," so everyone can find it on Facebook. We do have a website that's going to be coming as well, but it's all around mental health. It's mainly directed at males. There is a lot of females on the page as well. I can see, obviously who comes, the traffic that comes, but a lot of the message is just around raising that awareness for mental health for blokes, that we need to start to express the feelings and thoughts that we're having on a daily basis, because I was brought up again, with a trade background, where even with my back, it was suck it up, princess. It's not that bad. You'll be right. Go have a beer. And it was suppressing these emotions, and emotions are just energy. So we're suppressing this energy, and that energy gets expressed in some form. It could be a disease. It could be, obviously, not focused through our mind, and that leads to anxiety. It can lead to depression, or like my brother's case, taking his own life. He just got to a point where he'd obviously couldn't see a way out. So the message behind "You're All Right, Mate" is asking your mates, you're all right, mate. Like, it's all right to speak, and being there for your mates to actually listen. And that's one thing that I try and impress on the Facebook page, is it's about asking the question and then listening, not giving fuel to the fire, because a lot of conversations can be, "You're all right, mate," and then the person may say something, and we fuel that fire by saying, yeah, I know, aren't they terrible? Or, yeah, I feel for you. And that person comes away from that conversation just, depleted. So it's about just listening. And if you're qualified, definitely, then, help them and, point them in the right direction. If you're not, that sort of mindseted where, it's just a conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, direct them to our page. Or if it's a more serious note, direct them to Beyond Blue or Lifeline or something like that. But the page is all there just for awareness. So we have a lot of statistics going up, of the death tolls and, and different things around anxiety and stress. And there's a lot of tips on there as well. So, and meditation as well, I talk about on the page as well, because obviously that's going to helps anyone and everyone.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I'm a big proponent in men's mental health. It's especially in our country, in Australia, it's atrocious. We do have that "suck it up, princess" sort of mentality, and we all need to speak of what I'm exposed to. I'd say 80% of my clients would be female, but to start with, it was 95, and men are starting to open up and realize it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to express them. It's okay to have an opinion that's about something other than sports, cars, and things like that. And when you're in trouble, you can put your hand up and ask for help. You don't have to solve everything. And so I'm excited to see an extra resource out there to help spread that message. So I'm grateful. We want less chances that something can happen, like the situation your family ended up in of having a loss because somebody was overwhelmed and didn't think they could get out or talk, and they even had a supportive environment. So we all need these extra resources. So thanks for that work.
No, thank you. And it's growing at a good speed, and any way it can get out, the better. So yeah, it's just about, if it comes through you, all right, mate, or if it's another platform, it's just about getting it out there and really, supporting our mates, and listening without judgment as well. I think that's a big thing, which obviously as coaches, is a big part of coaching as well. You listen without any sort of judgment. So I think that's important as well for our mates, just to ask them and see where the conversation goes, and then listen and don't judge.
That's a fantastic piece of advice. Now we're starting to run out of time. So is there anything else you'd like to share of another tool that you think could help somebody with achieving their goals, releasing some stress, or just being a better human?
That's a very big question.
It's as broad as I can make it.
Yeah. And it is, it's pretty broad. But at the same time, it's I think, to give ourselves grace to realize wherever we're at in life, we can be our biggest critic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And, we can look at, again, social media. We can see other people, whether or not they're in our circle of influence of friends, or if they're, our mentors that we look up to, and we can see them at a certain place in their life and success, and then relate it to our present circumstance, and then we don't give ourselves any grace for where we're at, and realizing that person has had to work day and night to achieve that success, but we just see that end result and we just say, that's what I want, and I'm not living that way. And then we draw upon us all these negative emotions, and can dig ourselves into a hole. So I think one big tip just to leave all your listeners off with is, wherever you're at in life, realize that that's not fixed. It doesn't matter if I'll use Bob's numbers, if you're 5 years old or 95 years old, wherever you're at in life, that's not fixed. If you're not happy, you can change. And it all comes down to our thought patterns, our habitual thought patterns, because obviously the way we think internally has an effect on our external environment. And if we want our external environment to change, we need to start to go inward and change our inward environment through our thought patterns. And, to realize that, okay, if I want change, if I'm not happy where I'm at, where do I want to be? That's a good question to probably start with. And then putting pen to paper and, listing different things that we want to achieve in our life. Let's call it a bucket list. And then just going through and saying, well, what do I need to do to achieve this first one? Who do I need to look up to? Who can I actually start to look to and say, what did they do and how did they get there? So, a big one, when I started coaching, I was seeming to attract a lot of females into the coaching as well. And that was, I don't know why, it was just seemed to be, females were more open to talking and, that sort of personal development industry. And, it is changing. But yeah, I was seeming to get more females into my coaching. And a big role model that I would bring into the conversations was Oprah Winfrey. And we'd go into her past and saying, look what she's achieved and look what she had to look what she had to do to achieve where she's at now. So let's bring things back to current day and say, you're here, but you want to achieve this, X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Look for people that have achieved what you want to achieve, and then see that they probably went through a hell of a lot to get there. Yeah. No one's born with a silver spoon in their mouth, unless you're Donald Trump.
Yeah. That all starts with that inner voice just talking shit to you. And the worst thing you'll ever hear in your life, it's going to come from within. And if you hear worse than that, it takes about 5 seconds till your consciousness comes up with something worse to throw back at you. But the whole reason that's there is that driver to make you ask that question, well, what do I have to do about it then? Where as a culture and a society, we are getting lost in that, oh, woe is me, and listen to that voice without having that conversation with it of, well, where can we take it? Mm-hmm. So that's a fantastic piece of advice to leave us on. Thank you, Cameron. Now,
thank you very much.
If people want to get a hold of you, if they're inspired, if they want coaching or just to reach out and say hello, what are the best ways to do that?
Any of the platforms, the main platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, those ones, just Cameron Oates, Oates, and you can also jump on my website, CameronOatesCoaching.com, and leave a comment there, leave a comment on Facebook. I'll always write back and love to get on the phone with any of your listeners and, help out wherever possible. And the You All Right one is only on Facebook. It will open up to different platforms when we get a little bit more manpower behind it. But right now it's just Facebook, and it's You All Right Mate, just the letter U. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks. It's been a pleasure chatting as always. I've enjoyed.
Thank you.